Action. All right, you guys. Thanks for checking out Jerry Hines SRTV. We're going live. Got a phone call right now. On a phone call right now with one of my sobriety brothers. That's going to be joining me in SOS Sober on the Shoreline. So, Dave, talk to me about the meeting last night. You say the guy that possibly going to be needing a sponsor. You gave him some information. You want to share that with us?
I did. I went there to the PRC meeting last night at Positive Recovery Center, and met a young man there that a lot of what he had to say caught my attention because it was something that I was able to relate to as a young man myself. And when the meeting was over, I decided he approached me and shook my hand, wanted to thank me for listening to him and clapping for him. He noticed that right away. And as I started talking to him, I found out that him and I struggle with a lot of the same, I'm going to refer to it instead of a problem, as demons in life.
Okay.
And the reason why I call this demons is because I am religious. I do have a higher form of power. I grew up understanding who God is, but I never knew God until it was my recovery time in AA and going seeking help later on in life. And with this young man, he came from a very abusive background, physically abusive to the point to where it put him and his brother both in the hospital.
Okay.
Mental abuse, which a lot of people don't, because I'm so involved in recovery outside of not just AA, but I'm in several different kind of recoveries due to a very horrible, life-threatening personal injury that what I went through. And even as an adult, and then being someone who's a 10-year Iraqi veteran, the human body, we're not machines. We're humans.
Right.
And people tend to fall away, or they fail to forget that. We're men, and because we're men, we're humans.
Right.
The word man is inhuman. So a lot of people don't understand that we have feelings too. That's why we do a lot of what we do. We have emotions. I'm not talking about your male version of what they refer to as the Karen nowadays, but I'm just talking about a man that wants to understand the reason why he cares is because he wants a loving father, loving husband, loving son, someone who has to basically give a shit about what goes on in this world, with their health, their masculinity, on top of their sensitivity, because it all goes hand in hand. What makes you, it's what makes that, I'm going to call it that goo that makes families stick together, that makes you that special someone that woman is attracted to.
Okay.
And it is. So it told me, he goes, I gave him a hug, and I noticed he felt weird about it. Because I told him, I says, hey, brother, we all love you, man. You're loved. And hey, believe that, okay? This is your your family, and away from your family. Wherever you are in the world, there's an AA meeting somewhere in this world. Not only in the state, not only in the city of Houston or Harris County or the country of the United States. We are worldwide. You're not alone in this struggle, brother.
No, he's not.
Yeah, no, he's not by far. And I told him, I says, there's a lot of sick people out there. Most people are sicker than they think or they want to admit to themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Half people that are actually in AA are the ones that admit it. The other half are still sick, and they fail to recognize or admit their mistakes or their sickness or their shortcomings. And God gives us only so much time and grace to do this. And I explained to him how a person's measured by their actions, which he understood that because of what he went through with his family. He comes from a stepdad that's very physically and verbally abusive. His mom is very desensitized to being a loving, caring person. It's just a really horrible. I mean, once he told me what he went through, I could relate because I grew up in the same kind of situation where a lot of what he was told was his mom wished that she would have had an abortion with him, would have never had him, given him up for adoption. I can relate to all of this because, he's a kid and he doesn't understand his issues. So I gave him the education that I took that took years of counseling to overcome outside of AA. First of all, we're a product of our environment. So for every action, there was a reaction. He's the kid in this. He's only 19 years old. He is actually junior Texas Tech, so he's a very smart young man.
What was that? You say he's a worker with Texas Tech?
He's a junior in college.
Oh, okay.
And I asked him why did he not choose a trade, because of the fact that the day and age that we live in, AI has taken over a lot of jobs. And that was his response. He goes, actually, my courses in school and to a trade school. And because my son, he was in college, and I told him that, I really truly believe that whatever degree you get outside of that, you may want to pick up a trade as well. Because of the day and age that we live in, people don't do, 30, 40 years ago, people had one job and they did that job for 20, 30 years and then they retired from that one job.
Sure.
That's not the case anymore nowadays. So he's on board with that. He understands that he does need a trade. He is actually going to go to trade school, and he wants to become a welder. We talked a little bit about that. But on top of all that, the fact that he told me he's had problems keeping friends, he's had trouble being intimate with, granted he's only 19, but he's already recognized that he's having problems caring for a female, which he's ultimately told me he is looking try to be partner with one day to have a family.
Okay.
And I told him, I said, well, that's what you put up these are called what I call not only boundaries, but walls. You're doing it for your own protection. Because, man, I went a third of my life without knowing even I had no boundaries. I was like a wide open race car with no seatbelt, man.
Wow. Okay.
In this, I explained to him the difference between walls, boundaries, and what he's doing is a natural defense mechanism, which he told me ultimately, as the conversation went on, he ultimately led him to drugs. It first started with alcohol because he got tired of living in misery. So he leaned to alcohol to try to fade himself out and blur himself out of what his world was at the time, which would have been his environment. And I told him, I says, I understand, I can relate. I used to do the same thing, and my escape was the military and ultimately the maritime industry, which kept me away from that environment.
Okay.
So he's looking. He's not a hardcore addict with years under his belt. He went to PRC to get the help so he can try to continue on living a normal life. He recognized the problem, and I told him, I said, man, I really admire someone your age for doing this because, that's really hard for a lot of people to do. Is just admitting the faults and the shortcomings and the issues of life in itself with
Right.
what they're facing.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and he did that. I says, man, you made the biggest step and probably the best choice of your life by being here, right here where you are right now.
Definitely.
You know, we lean towards the higher power, I believe. You know, he wasn't doing foxhole prayers. He said he was praying. Prayers do get answered, which would be his higher power.
Okay.
And not even knowing who his higher power really is, his higher power, you know, I believe answered him. And I told him that.
Right.
And I said, you are right here, right now. Your higher power puts you where he wants you to be, or it wants you to be, whatever it is to you. And he told me his higher power is God.
Right. So yesterday was October the 8th, 2025, and the H&I, the topic yesterday was on willpower versus higher power, correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. So you guys were on the willpower versus the higher power, and you had to spoke with this young man about power after the meeting, huh?
I did, yeah.
All right, and he accepted it, and he's happy with it. He looks forward to seeing you again next week.
With it. I told him, you know, I accept him as a person, and whenever he gets out, he would like for me to meet his adopted family.
Okay.
And I told him I would do that, and then I'm gonna take him under my wing. This is something. How do I say? I'm not going to be a sponsor, but I'm going to be a mentoring guide for him.
Awesome. Sounds great.
Working with him and his family, and then together we're going to find a really good sponsor for him.
Okay.
That I believe, you know, will be more beneficial. Because I don't see how. I have a sponsor. I've never been a sponsor.
Okay.
But that's why I told him, I says, we're going to find him a sponsor because I'm still learning how to be a sponsor myself.
Okay. Totally understandable.
Yeah.
All right. Sounds great. All right, Dave. Well, thanks for checking in with me, man. Thanks for going live with me and being able to share some valuable information on sobriety and recovery. I really appreciate it. And thanks, audience, for checking out Jerry Hines SR TV. Our guest today was Dave out of the Heights, Houston. Right, Dave?
Yes, sir.
All right. You want to leave your email address or anything like that for someone to reach out to you? They're looking for a mentor?
Yeah, sure. Anyone that you know that would like to talk or discuss life issues, whether if it's a relationship, I want to say any kind of relationship problems that would resort to them having to feel that they need to turn to either drugs or alcohol, you can email me at djonesy2004@yahoo.com, or you can even call me at 281-733-1795. I'd be happy to take some time and talk to you about it. You know, these things are tough, and I can only share with someone as far as I have went and with what I have learned from my sponsor as well as my therapist.
Awesome. There it is. All right. Thanks again, Dave. Thanks you guys for checking out Jerry Hines SR TV. Looking for a sponsor? Reach out to us. All right.
Peace. Have a good one, Jerry.
Thanks, Dave. See you soon.
You're welcome. See you soon, man.
All right, brother.